Grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real women don't bitch. No, real women don't. 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 Real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis.
We are live. I'm so excited. Praise God. So I am coming into you guys today. What's up? It is Thursday. It is Thankful Thursday. I'm just going to name it today. I'm going to call it Thankful Thursday. And today I am coming to my wonderful, incredible, amazing group of people that are following along with me on my own trauma recovery journey. And I am going to invite you all into a conversation that I'm going to have with my girl, August Crenshaw. She is amazing, and I want to introduce because she's amazing, and I want you all to hear about some of the things that she is doing to bring light to this incredible topic of trauma recovery, which you all know that is my thing. I am all about people dealing with what's going on inside of them so that they can heal and so that they can pass that healing on to their families and communities. So I'm going to invite her in. What's up, sis? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm excited. I am doing super awesome. I'm so glad to have this conversation with you.
I'm ready.
Yes, ma'am. So we had been having some dialogue around specifically trauma, the Black community, and how specifically intimate partner violence, or just what happens in family systems in homes, whether that be marriage, whether that be boyfriends and girlfriends, whether that people are living together, how that has perpetuated some of the cycles of violence that have been kind of passed down through generations.
Yep.
We just began having some dialogue around that. I wonder, first of all, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Let people know who you are and what you do, and then we can dive into that conversation.
Yeah, well, I'm August Crenshaw. I am an online coach. I am a business coach and a sales coach, and I predominantly work with my sisters. And I believe in 1,000% authenticity. That's what you'll gather from me. And I just love the essence of helping women stand in their power and not just say, oh, I have a product or something to sell, but really understand that they're the #1 unique identifying factor in their business, because it's so easy for us to say, oh, the market is saturated. It's so hard. Things are so difficult. And how do I navigate these internet streets? And in doing that and learning that for myself as a woman who's always worked for herself, as I started my first business as a braider / cosmetologist when I was in high school. Hey. Look, they did it for over 20 years. And and left that to go on a journey of, I don't know where I'm going, and left my hometown to start what would end up starting my coaching business. What I ran into was a lot of brilliant, beautiful Black women who I could tell them, I see your specific business and you need to do these specific things, begin to shrink. When we would talk and we would have fun together, they would be like, yes, and this is why I do this and I do this and I'm going to do this and change the world and people need this. And then I'd be like, go out there and show the world, and they would shrink. And so that's actually how authenticity and this movement got birthed inside of me, because being in a position to not just shirk it off and tell people, oh, you have a money mindset issue. Oh, you got manifestation blocks. Oh, your faith in God really isn't as high as you say it is. Instead of coming from a condemning place, I started having conversations with women. And that's how I started learning about their innermost, deepest secrets. And that's what catapulted and evolved my brand into being about 1000% authenticity.
Wow. I love that. And you're so right that when we start getting into that creative space in our brains, it's actually coming from our right brain, the right part of our brain that creates and imagines and envisions. We do have to deal with what's really going on inside of us. And much of that is coming out of experiences, of traumatic, situations and or things that have been spoken over us.
Oh, yeah.
And or things that have been spoken and programmed into us. And facing those things is the authenticity that's required to create something that is sustainable, first of all, but also that is, going to pour into people in a way that actually changes and transforms their life. So I love that vision. Oh, that's incredible, sis.
Yeah, and you know what? It's the simplest things, right? I remember I had this woman. Now, first of all, we're beautiful people, period. But I promise you, I thought this woman she should have been a model. I mean, she was just that gorgeous. Wow. And she had already been, now listen to this, you guys, she had already been in business for 10 years, but had hit a ceiling, or rather a plateau. And so when I got to doing the technical, practical part, well, how many clients do you have? How many of them are repeat customers and all of those things? I'm digging into her business. I'm like, girl, all we have to do is do X, Y, and Z. You can run this promotion. And if you do this, and you got to change your price, not because we're just making you raise the price for them being high for the sake of being high, like really analyzing the amount of energy and effort she was putting into it, the market value. I'm not talking about this fluff and bull, 6 steps to 6 figures and all of that stuff in 6 days. I'm like a real analysis of her business. And then when it was time she was like, okay, I'm a little nervous, but I'm going to do it. And then she didn't do it. And when I had those conversations in the background, it was like, you know what? I'm still dealing with some hurdles of the fact that my first husband told me that I was stupid. That my first husband told me that I wouldn't be anything. And see, what I didn't know was that she also had married that man when she was very young, and she was only 19. I didn't know that he was controlling and manipulating her, and that she really didn't have any identity, didn't have any skills, didn't continue her education, didn't know how to manage money. All she knew how to do was survive. And so that's what I'm tired of seeing with us, is that we have this ability to survive, but we still don't know who we are. And she was saved. She believed in God, but she was still suffering from an identity crisis. Yeah. But when we got down and started doing the root work, and she realized just who she was and how powerful she was, she broke free from some of that. And then literally made more. I remember we did a Christmas promotion. She's like, oh, people don't really buy from me during the holidays. Baby, she made more money in the holidays and did less work than she had did in all of her other previous years. Wow. All because, listen to me, not because of my business strategy, but because she came out with all of her energy
Yes.
and apply that strategy. And so it doesn't make a difference whether it's business, whether it's ministry, you're volunteering for a nonprofit. It doesn't make a difference what you do. There's got to be something we got to wake up to understanding that it's us. And it's not arrogance, but can you imagine the level of confidence that is required for someone like Moses to go in front of a Pharaoh and say, God said, let my people go.
Right.
It's not arrogance. It's us being bold and stepping out and saying, this is why I was created. This is what I was supposed to do. And for the majority of us, the women that I'm connected to, your business is also your ministry. And I need you to be bold and step out with that fire and show up, because you got people to save and set free just like he did.
Yes. And the Lord tells us repeatedly that we have to renew our minds. We have to do it every single day. And that is how we're transformed, by, renewing our minds to the truth. And so I love that you're sharing this, because it is so true. Honestly, from what I've learned in my association, I'm certified by the International Association of Trauma Recovery Coaching. So I talk to people who are all walks of life, all, ethnic backgrounds, all kinds of situations. And it's true in every community, but this is the community that I was born into. Okay. Yeah. This melanated, Black, incredibly beautiful, all called Black girl majesty, all of that. That's what I was actually born into. And so ours really does stem from what we were experiencing generations ago, with violence, trauma, abuse, survival. And that DNA, that actually, when you go through traumatic experiences, what I've been trained to understand is that it actually changes your DNA physiologically and genetically. Now, we know that through the Lord Jesus, that he gives us a new person, a new creation. He changes our DNA, but it comes through the renewing of our minds. And so a part of what we're called to do is to, and when I say we, I'm talking about people who have been given an assignment and know what their purpose is, know who they're called to serve. We're called to help that person, or to walk alongside them like a paraclete, change and transform their minds so that they can align with what new creation is already on the inside of them. That people call that manifestation.
Let me tell
Bringing
you.
it out.
Amen. Yeah. Let me tell you, I know that the listeners hear you and they feel you, but I have a habit of always giving the most practical examples of things. My mother gave me to my paternal grandmother when I was 18 months. Yeah. I started sort of getting to know her, maybe spending the night or a weekend here and there, but I was immersed in being raised and having to go to church every Sunday. You went to Bible study every Tuesday, choir rehearsal every Wednesday. we did you went home, you ate dinner, you went to a program at 3:30, and you were cordially invited to do an A and B selection. I'm Missionary Baptist, but no matter what, I remember I finally got to know a cousin of mine who was from my mother's side of the family, and somebody did something to me, and I just exploded, and I was, and when I was done, she like, dang, you just like Lisa. And I was like, huh? Not that I didn't want to be like Lisa, who is my mother, but I was like, girl, when she get an attitude, you sound just like her. And I was like, girl, whatever, because I couldn't identify with it, because I really didn't understand or know my mother like that. So it probably was like a year later, and I finally saw my mother get totally pissed off. And I swear, I thought I was looking at myself. Wow. And how did that come from me if my upbringing and all of that was not with her? So when Kimberly's saying this stuff, this ain't no woo-woo thing. What are you talking about? The generational manifestation. And, people act like it's a joke. We're going to take this all the way back to slavery. No, it's real.
It's real.
It's very, very real. And doing that work and changing the generational curses, the generational habits, the generational fears, the generational whatever it was that God did not decree for our lives, that it actually does take work to change it. And a lot of people don't understand that we have a different set of things we need to talk about when it comes to the Black community. I love all people, But the analogy that I give all the time is that if a grown woman is raped and a 8-year-old is raped, the conversation and the type of counseling and therapy is going to be completely different because of the magnitude of the effect, just off of the sheer essence of age. And so white people, I tell them all the time, white people, you can come to my summit. You absolutely can. It has a melanated vibe, and it actually, if anything, it has an intensified level of work because the Black experience has been so heinous that you're getting into the deepest of the deepest of the deepest root work. And so we have to start realizing, I'm not saying that white, Asian, those people cannot help us, but typically there's a different level of sensitivity and a different methodology that needs to be used in order to help us with our issues, which we really should stop calling them issues and just call them flat out what they are, our traumas.
Yes, there are traumas. And I love that you said that because, there's been this camp of people who will label people crazy, label them mentally unstable, label them, they got issues, when in reality, it isn't what's wrong with you. I think Oprah said this in an interview that she did on 60 Minutes. It's what happened to you.
Absolutely.
What happened to you, or what happened to the generation of women that you come out of that has been the thinking, the mindset that has been passed down and taught. And those are the things that we got to unpack. Those are the things that we have to deal with, because that is where that's where the treasure is. Okay.
Yeah.
Treasures. And we talk about it in the association. We call it some people don't like this term, but we call it the gifts of trauma. There are gifts that come out of, learning how to take nothing and make something out of it. There are gifts that come out of learning how to observe your environment. We call it neuroception, and size up what's safe, who's safe, where am I there? Those are gifts. They can be used once you have gone through your healing process. And as you are in your healing process, they can be used to discern who to fool with and who you are not supposed to be fooling with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that you said, because it is trauma, and trauma is defined as something that changes the way you see yourself, you see other people and the world around you. It's something that happens too much, too fast, too soon, and your body doesn't have time to integrate the experience. So we had a whole lot of that going on. Can I respond to what you said in reference to the gifts that come out of it? One of the things that I had to realize was that the biggest struggle for me was my ministry. And for instance, being raised in a household where if your mother didn't raise you, you've already got some jacked up stuff. When an age at 18 months, you can't even articulate with clarity what's wrong with you. I remember my family used to tell me sometimes, even though I was naturally loving, giving, liking to do stuff, I had an attitude problem. Well, I mean, where do you think that came from? Then on top of that, my aunts, and I ain't mad at them, but they did. I remember they bought me the skirts when they first came out with the little biker shorts and the skirts. I love those.
I used to love them, but I've always been naturally curvy. So you got this little bitty waist and this pop booty and these curvaceous hips. I remember sitting on the porch one day and the screen door was closed, but the door was open, and I had my little outfit on, and I'm sitting there thinking I'm cute. I'm barely probably like 11 years old. And I heard one of my aunties say, sitting out there looking like a little hoe with that on. And I had an aunt one time, she took me with her and an old boyfriend of hers that was actually married to Six Flags, to a theme park. I'm running behind him like a big uncle or a father getting on the ride. So that's the only thing I'm thinking about. I'm barely 12 years old. Right. Literally, she had the audacity to tell me on the ride home after she dropped him off, you're going to grow up to be a hoe and need somebody else's man. I don't know if he was looking at me a certain kind of way. I don't know what happened. All I knew is I was a little girl having a lot of fun at Six Flags.
Wow.
And then, even I knew how, like I told you, I started my business when I was in high school. So I knew how to hustle. I knew how to make money. I have one of my aunts who to this day lives this lifestyle where you think she has money, but she is broke just like everybody else. and she had a funky car, but she couldn't even afford to get the tire changed on it when she got a flat. No problem, auntie, here go $80 on that. Never gave me the money back. Cut her phone on when her business phone got shut off at the salon she was working at. Told me she would give me the money back. I ain't got to give you nothing. I'll ask for it in a divorce. And so just constantly being you.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, what do I want from these women?
Love
I'm supposed to be their family. I want them to love me. I want them to accept me. You know what I'm saying? And even with my mother, I love her to death, but I felt like the only time she really wanted to call me was when she was dealing with her addiction to gambling, because she wanted to play pick 4, pick 3, go on a boat. And I could just go on and on and on about these different things. And so, like you said, you know, trauma doesn't always have to be that you was beat upside the head, that you were molested for X amount of years, that you were married to a narcissist. Like you said, it's anything that alters your perception of self and others. And so all of this stuff is coming at me too quick, too soon, all of that stuff. Too much, too fast, too soon. And because I'm a young girl soaking all of this stuff in. So you know what happened, right? When I get out here in these internet streets, and God is like, remember when you were doing hair and you were mentoring and giving people advice and encouraging them? I want to take those gifts and I want to make them explode. Well, collaborating with women and doing online workshops, you got to admit it's scary, right? Meeting new people that you've never met before, hoping that they really believe in what you're doing and that they're not going to try to use you. And this is going to be a mutually beneficial relationship. Can you imagine, without me going into the details of the things that I've suffered with people stealing proprietary information, putting their mouth on me, and you would have to be a speaker in one of my events to understand the level of labor that I put into this, not just for you as attendees, but also for my speakers, for it to sound asinine to even think that someone would do something like that. But I did. But every single time those things happen, God had to sit me down and show me how, when it says all things work for the good that love him and are called according to his purpose, I was like, I love you and I'm called. I didn't just hear you. I'm being obedient and I did what you told me to do, but this hurts.
Yes, please.
And it hurt me so bad that actually I've been doing these summits since 2017. I had to take a year off in 2018. I did not do an entire summit because I had to deal with that pain. But I came back out with a vengeance in 2019. And you better believe that in 2019, when I came back out at the top of the year and did a summit, the first thing that happened to me was the person stole my proprietary information. And I was, but I had a different level of get back up. Yes. But all of that's, but I spent a year facing the trauma though.
Yes.
So that goes back to the other part you said, not to be too long-winded. You were talking about how there are gifts in it, but you have to embrace it and go through the healing in order to be able to get to the gifts. And so this is where the motivation comes from to do these types of things, because for a lack of a better way to say it, I choose to face my demons. So what can I do to help you face yours? Yeah.
And you brought up such a great, we're having this conversation. We're talking about this summit that we are, that August is about to launch. And I'm a speaker in this summit. I'm super excited about it. But what you just brought up is so pivotal to being a person who faces and starts to walk through recovering from trauma, because you brought up this concept that you cannot heal without stepping into stages of vulnerability. Just because you experienced X, Y, Z, just because you were, and I've experienced molestation, just because you were abused by someone, just because you were, taken advantage by someone who you were trying to help. In order to recover from that experience, you have to grieve, which is what you shared so beautifully. You have to go through a process of lamenting and forgiving, and forgiving meaning giving up the hope that it would have been any different than how it happened. You have to extract and mine for those experiences and learnings that you got out of what you just walked through. And then you have to step your foot back out there again.
Absolutely.
You got to be vulnerable again. You got to try again, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in a business relationship, whether it's you had a failed business and you're going to try a different concept and a new idea. A part of recovering from trauma and dealing with the impact of it is going through a process. Yeah. And there's no way around it. There is, you can delay it. You can put it off. it's going to keep seeping out. That experience that you've had, that trauma is going to keep leaking all over the place. I call it leaking all over the place. But there's a way to recover. It is. And you so beautifully just laid out that process, doing the work and taking the time out sometimes that we need to take to actually give ourselves the time and attention that's needed.
Absolutely.
So that we don't bring that to new things. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I'm sorry if people are commenting. I actually had to like go out. I have my iPad up to try to see the comments because I know sometimes when we use Zoom and stuff like that, it doesn't let us see it. And so I'm sorry, but I did want to look and see Tressie, I hope I'm saying it right, says, I choose to face my demons. How can I help you face yours? Love it. Yes, stages of vulnerability, grief, forgiveness, lessons learned, get up and go at it again.
Yeah.
So I just wanted you guys to know that we're here. If we're not responding, we don't see them. I apologize for that. But I want to add something to what you said.
Yeah.
One of the things, there's a time and a space when there has to be an individual aspect to you going through some stuff. And, you know, that's where you get one-to-one coaching. And sometimes that one-to-one ministering is just you and the Holy Spirit. You know, that's right. You and God, you know, and you do what you do. But we have to also realize that just like this is something that has occurred generationally, we need to look back at our generational practices. And we have always been a communal people. And so that's one of the reasons why the summit was created, because when you look at someone like you, if somebody don't know you, like I told you, when I look at your post, you are just so in your face. Like, hey, this is me. I'm Kimberly, and I love it. And I love being around women like that. People that come on my page. I'm 1000% authentic. You know, I literally love colored hair, but you best believe that I'm partially wearing blue because I need you all to know I'm going to be me and look like what I want to look like. You know, and I allow other people to do that. But people can look at us and then not know our story.
Right.
And then they think that we got some kind of extra special gift that they don't have. But that's false. The word of God says that he is not a respecter of persons and that we are all given a measure of faith.
That's right.
So we may be different body parts as far as this whole, and listen, I'm going to tell you, some of you that follow, you know, because this is both page. I am friends with Jesus. I know him very well. I don't want to put anybody off, but I tell people all the time, I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person. And there's some practices that I have. You may think that they woo-woo. I just know that God is too big to be put in a box. So I'm 1000% myself, but I'm not going to sit here and try to tell somebody they don't need to know who Jesus is, because I could tell you some stories about some things that I done went through. Pray the name of Jesus, and they happen. So I don't let people challenge my faith, right? I'm 1000% authentic. I am who I am. And so I don't need to be looking at you and judging you, you know, and why are you doing this or why are you practicing this faith? Look, let's get to the core of just understanding ourselves as people.
Yeah.
You know, I can honestly say, specifically with the church, many of you really can't minister to people because you're too busy trying to tell them whether or not they should be a Jew, a Muslim, or this, that, and the other. You're so busy trying to tell them they need to go ahead and stop shacking up and stop doing this, that, and the other, when God just said, love them.
Yes,
he did. He didn't say, you know what, man with the withered hand, what was your sin? Repent first, and then I'm going to heal your hand. He didn't tell the woman that touched the hem of his garment, hold up, before this virtue come out, heifer, what you do? You know, get yourself together. He didn't say, Zacchaeus, refund the people first, and then I'll go to your house and have dinner with you all. Something about the love of God has been lost, because the love of God is what actually cleanses and purifies all things. And so for me, I want to be in a place that's safe and that's courageous for us to tell the stories together, because I can't have you looking at me and thinking that, oh, well, August is just so confident or Kimberly is just so confident and they've got something special. No, you got beat up a little bit different. And maybe our recovery was faster than the average person. Maybe our ability to retain the steps and to teach it and to convey it to others is different. But that just means that God wants us to be a leader. He wants us to be more like a Joshua. He wants us to be a warrior, to fight on your behalf and then help you experience that same freedom. So you know, if we're one body, the finger can't do what the foot do, and the eye can't do what the mouth does, and the arm can't do what the leg does, but every single part of it is pertinent. And so when you hear that something as simple as a latchkey kid has been messing with somebody's marriage or their ability to parent, you say, oh, when you hear that someone was blocked by their spouse from not being able to handle finances, now you stop looking at this sister like, dang, she just stupid. Why she always use retail therapy in order to resolve her issues?
Yes,
you see that you think that, this sister over here is, passive, and you don't understand that she's been psychologically manipulated by some people in the church. And that's why she acts the way that she acts with her spouse. And that's how she stayed in this situation for so long until she woke up and was able to get out. You begin to realize that you could be more humble. You could be more loving, because there's, like you said, it's not how people are. It's what happened to them. And we're learning what happened to each other, so that then we can begin to desensitize this. Look at what happened to me, because solitude is the Black community's kryptonite. We got to stop saying, look at me and what I'm going through. Ain't nothing new been done under the sun. It may have its unique variables of how it happened to you, but trust me, we're all going through very similar circumstances. And when we realize that, it takes the power away from the circumstance, and then we want to start putting the energy into the people for them to heal.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm telling you that what you're talking about, people talk about where it's 2020 and that we're in a year of collective trauma by virtue of the changes that have had to take place, by virtue of the whole world having to shift on a dime, by virtue of, we're in election year, which is typically a traumatic environment from the different infightings of, people be losing friends, leaving jobs, all this stuff. And I believe that just as there are instances of collective trauma, there are also the opportunity for collective healing. And that's what your summit is about. It is about telling the stories that the Lord has brought people through, what they learned from it, what they had to do to go through their process, and, how it has, appeared on the other side of the mountain. And I believe that one of the gifts of trauma, this is why the Lord says that my grace is sufficient for you, because my power is made perfect in your weakness. This is what you lead with. You lead with, here is what happened to me. Here is how God led me through it. Here is how he is healing me from it. And, I want to support you because I've been there. I've been in that position. I know what it's like to, behave in a way that, you be groveling to some dude because you feel like helpless in a situation with a man, or I know that. There's no shame. Mm-hmm. There's no shame at you getting at the feet of Jesus and grabbing the hem of his garment. There's no shame. As a matter of fact, when the woman with the adult who had committed adultery with probably one of the men that threw her in the thing with the stones in the first place, because how in the world were they there to know she was committing adultery? Okay, that's another conversation.
Whole nother story.
Okay, I'm gonna stay focused. But the reason that the Lord told her, where are your accusers? And she said, none, Lord. No, they're not here. And he said, I don't accuse you either. Now go and sin no more. His grace, his love for her in that moment is actually what gave her the power to go and sin no more. That's what you're saying. Yes. You're saying that when we walk with people, whether we're walking with them, supporting them as a business person, supporting them as a trauma recovery person, as a friend, as a family member, when we tell the story of our salvation, we're actually loving them and pouring the love of God out to them so that they have the power, not from us, but from him, to actually walk this thing out of transforming and changing the patterns that they've been in. We don't have the power in and of ourselves. We are not equipped to change generations of hoeing around. We're not equipped to change generations of letting men abuse us or letting women abuse us. We're not equipped. We are in and of ourselves. Human beings don't have the capacity. We need God and his love and his power to do it. And so when you invited me to be a part of this summit, I literally was like, this is my life's work. I'm right there with you, sis. I'm in the race too. And I'm here to support whomever is doing this work. There is no competition because we're all in the same boat doing the same healing work. We just have different appendages or different functions. And so may I say this? Because you've never shared that story with me, but I'm just going to model something right now. I just want to honor the fact that you just shared in your process of doing this work, that you've been taken advantage of because of the vulnerability with which you have operated and the authenticity with which you've operated. And I want to say, I'm so sorry that happened. I'm so sorry that someone used you like that and didn't honor the opportunity for them to step into a different level of their healing and confidence and creativity with God, and co-opted something and used it as their own. I'm sorry.
I will say this. Number one, thank you. And it doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean that the memory of it doesn't still sting to some degree. But the most powerful thing that I really had to learn about ministry is this, is that people honestly don't know God until they know people. And I know we want people to know God first. You really think because somebody came to the church and they were convicted and they went to the altar and they decided to get baptized, that they're supposed to raise up and be a new creature. And that's because they're supposed to have this thing now where there's no intimacy at all. No, that's not how it goes.
Right.
And the reason, think about it, when we were created and we were put on this earth, if you look, I tell people all the time, especially if you're Christian, you read this Bible, I'm going to challenge you.
That's right.
God's way before was just get to me. I'll even have an intermediary, have a pastor, a priest, they'll do an offering and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, this is not working. People still are not realizing who I am. He said, the way that I got to get them to realize who I am is I have to manifest myself in the flesh.
Yeah.
And so they need to experience a human being operating and modeling what this thing looks like to receive the love of God, to serve and extend mercy, to serve and extend grace. Jesus was sent here so that you could see what it looks like for a human being to understand. He always said, to see me is to see the Father.
That's right.
Not go somewhere and get yourself to sit down and go meditate and then figure out who the Father is. He said to see me is to see the Father. Now, Jesus made a promise. He made a declaration. He said that because I go to the Father, these things and greater things shall you do. And so we have to stop limiting ourselves and saying, oh, okay, well, when stuff don't go right, when stuff don't feel right, that it's all on me. No, when stuff doesn't go right and stuff doesn't feel right and people use you, that's all on them. Because if you have moved with integrity, if you have moved with the spirit of love, if you've operated out of mercy and compassion, even through your pain, then surely you understand that they didn't reject you. They rejected an opportunity to experience the love of God. So if Jesus could know, this is what I had to deal with. And when that happened to me, I actually did a video, Kimberly, called "What Do You Do When Betrayal Is All Around You?" And I said, if you surrender to the betrayal, then you're more concerned about your emotions than you are about the mission. And God was like, okay, so if Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him, but still washed his feet, what I'm saying to you is that you're going to be betrayed, but you still have to serve. So every single time a woman did me wrong, hurt my feelings, took something from me, put their mouth on me, misunderstood me, didn't try to have a conversation to get to know me, what they decided to do was to act out of their trauma and not receive the healing and the love of God that was being extended to them. Because you better believe if there was anything in error on my part, then I would go back and apologize and rectify that. And so let me just also add this. I was so paranoid in one of my summits that one lady actually didn't hurt me. But I felt like because of my trauma that she did. And
Yeah.
so one of my segments in one of my previous summits was me talking about how my association with my aunties and the things that happened to me caused me to be paranoid and perceive her actions to mean something that they didn't. So when you talk about vulnerability, I put myself on Front Street and publicly let it be known that I had to reach back out to this woman and say that I'm sorry. So if the Holy Spirit is not just going to give you conviction so that you can see other people's and help them heal through this process, you have to be like, let me heal. So when I see stuff in people, it's because I've seen it in myself. So it does still sting a little bit sometimes. There's a little bit of caution, but every single time God has to remind me, don't you let that caution rule you, because if you do, you cannot come out as creatively as I need you to. You cannot come out with the force that I need you to. You have to keep on going. You have to keep on pushing and realize that I'm trying to demonstrate what grace and love and mercy looks like through you. They ain't rejecting you. They're rejecting me. And doing that, I mean, acknowledging and recognizing that is what has allowed me to say, you know what, I really don't care what happens.
Yeah.
I'm doing these summits. And God is going to keep on sending me people that are more and more aligned. And I can honestly tell you, there's always only like one or two people where it gets kind of weird, and you'll have nip stuff in the bud like immediately. But this is all a learning process, and you can't learn this if you don't start doing it. There's no way I would know how to navigate these things or even understand what I'm talking about if I didn't go head first into the work to actually still serve no matter what.
Yes. And you know, this is an example of what this summit is going to be like. These are the conversations. You know, I said, oh Lord, this is what we're going to talk about today. And the Holy Spirit is like, no, this is what you're going to talk about today, because we have gone all the way right. But it's all the way. This is what the Lord is pulling to the surface. This is what it looks like to start stepping into your purpose. This is what it looks like to start to walk in your calling. And really what all of that is in order to do that without, I'm not going to say it this way, in order to do that with integrity and integrally, you have to be willing to deal with your stuff. Real time, you know, you took the time and you did the processing and you took the year, but there's still stuff to work on. There's still stuff that God is pulling the layers back. It's not like you arrive anywhere. And regardless of what kind of work you're doing in support of, you know, supporting the collective healing process for, you know, Black people, for melanated people, for people who are ostracized or, you know, minimized, the work for you internally has to continue.
Yes.
Otherwise, it will not be genuine. It will not be authentic. It will not be the oil that's coming out of the wine press. It will not. So I love this conversation, and I'm glad that we're having it. And I'm glad that, you know, this summit has been created. And, you know, I'm inviting everybody who's watching this tonight, or this today, I guess it's the middle of the day, or whenever you do view it, join the conversation. We are doing the No More Trauma Summit 2020. It starts December 6th, right? December 7th through the 19th?
The 18th, December 7th through the 18th.
December 7th through the 18th. I'm going to put the link on this particular video as soon as we get off, so that you can go ahead and get signed up. It's a free summit. It is for the purpose of supporting collective healing in the Black community. And there are stories. I mean, you're going to find your story somewhere in this summit.
Yes.
You'll find a story of someone close to you in this summit. So is there anything else, August, you want to share? Because, I mean, I had something else to talk about, but the Lord said, no, y'all just going to have a girlfriend talk, because this is what needs to happen. This is what needs to happen.
Yeah, you know what? I did think about that. I'm like, we done went so many different gears, but you know what? But you know me, I believe in just being in flow. The only other thing that I would reiterate is that, you know, not only are we doing the summit, but on the first day, please, if you all can, at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, mark your calendar, because we're doing a fabulous opening ceremony, and there's going to be poetry and singing and films and videos. We're going to display our Black Brilliance, and it's going to actually go through a storyline. And if you all only knew that every person creatively gave what they had, and it ended up creating a story. And this is going to be an actual production. This is not, just a bunch of stuff thrown out there. We would love for you to watch that, and then just make sure if you don't do anything else, open up that first email. People are so used to stuff being on Facebook. We are not hosting this on Facebook. It is in a private community through a private app called Mighty Networks. That's the app. But the name of my community is called The Authentic Collective. And just like joining Facebook, you would join The Authentic Collective, but then you have to join the No More Trauma group, is that where that private space is specifically just for us. So it is free to get into. You'll have temporary access. And, just go from there and see how you feel about everything, and then determine whether or not you want to graduate to an all access pass. But, please, once Kimberly puts the link in, sign in, sign up, get over there and get in position. We are going to have a good time. We are going to laugh and we're going to cry together, but we are going to ultimately heal together.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, sis. I always love talking to you.
Thank you.
You're amazing. You're amazing.
You are amazing.
So,
she made me cry, y'all, in her interview. I cried. That's it. Don't watch it. Please watch it. Made me cry.
I did. I was surprised, but you don't know when God is going to heal a specific thing in your heart. You don't know. And so we have to just be open to when and how and through whom he's going to do it. And I love that. I've gotten real used to letting the tears flow organically. Grocery store, gas station, wherever they come up, because that's when it needs to come out. So exactly. I love that you did that. So I hope
consciously something triggered, so let it free.
That's right. Release it. That's right. Release it so that the Lord can put his balm on it and let it just do what it needs to do. So well, thank you, sis. Love you so much. And the summit's going to be off the chain. So please join us. And thanks you guys for watching. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomen.don't bitch.podcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces.
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you.